testing, testing. 1, 2,
All right.
1, 2, testing, testing. Okay. Hello, everyone. Luminar here. And today we're doing a special stream. It's a custom-made game using the RPG system software, RPG Mega VX Ace. Yeah. The thing is, this one's going to be kind of a bit muted, well, mostly because of the background sounds and the music, because, well, okay, the creator of this game was a friend of mine who worked a lot of hours on this. Sorry, just one moment. Okay, so, as I was saying, the one who made this was a good friend of mine. He spent a lot of hours on this, making it all from scratch. Unfortunately, he passed away a couple of years ago, sadly. So, he never really got the chance to finish the game. So, we're not only going to be doing this for his honor and his respect for all the hard work he did, but show off that anything is possible when making a game as long as you got the drive for it. So, also, there are going to be bits that's been voiced. I couldn't add it to the game, unfortunately, because I was trying to help fix it up some, but it didn't register the audio, so I'm probably going to have to, so I'm going to try to play them in a separate spot, and hopefully it'll pick it up. But with what comes up, I will try to narrate the best I can, because sadly I'm not a voice actor myself, but I will do what I can. So, also, if you think others might enjoy it, you're more than welcome to share the link. Let's get the fun rolling and going, and be ready for some fun times. Oh, just one more moment, folks. Just make sure things are finalized. Okay. Alright. Alright, let's go. Well, hold on. I know I said it would be going. It's just, it's been a while since I streamed on this. On the PC with the OBS, because I've had a few technical difficulties with it. So it's like, yeah. Alright, so. Plus, send out links and all. Alright, now we should be ready. Alright, now we're good. Now we're good. Yeah, there'd be a lot of good sound for it. It's just, I had this set up on my YouTube channel. It just decided to block all the sound. Alright, here we go. Some people spend their lives dreaming of what they want to be someday. I was like that. Here I am, though, wondering more about what I was to begin with, and just what someone like me exists for, and why. My parents were very tongue-tied. My parents were very elderly, having never been able to foster a child of their own, and nearing the dusk of their lives, they went to a nearby shrine in desperation one day, begging the gods to grant them a child, no matter his size. Obviously, what they meant was that they weren't all that concerned if I was frail or feeble, but the gods have a sense of humor. When they returned home from their prayers, they found me, a baby as tiny as a ladybug. Even upon reaching my full height, it would be generous to call me an inch tall. Therein lied the name they chose for me, Issunboshi, the 1-inch boy. A title appropriate for me, but envied by no one else. Okay, so before I continue, yes, this is about the story that's filled about the inch-high samurai. It's not only just a game, but it's also a story. So think of it like an adventurous visual novel. My aging parents were good to me. As a child, I wanted to help them however I could. I worked hard to try and help them tend our fields, but I was never much use. No, that's too generous as well. I only got in the way. You see, I wanted to try to get a narrator for this, because there are voice lines for this. They're not in the game yet, because I still gotta figure that out. But I did have a couple awesome people do some really good voicing for it. They will get shoutouts, that's for sure. It's just the reason I was trying to find a narrator for this is because it's basically retelling of not only of his past, but his current adventure. Alright, let's continue. But no matter how downtrodden I became, they assured me that could do great things. No matter what my goals were, I could attain them. So I decided that I wanted to prove them right, and choose the most difficult goal I could. I was going to become a samurai. Not just a samurai. I was going to be sorry. I was going to become the best that had ever lived. I know, it's a laughable thought to anyone. How couldn't it be? Who could I face in combat that couldn't just crush me flat? But I made up my mind. I was a child with a dream, and striving toward it filled me with joy, not hopelessness. My mother gave me a small needle that I worked for days to craft into a makeshift sword, and I started training. Well, training is a term I should use loosely. I had no one to teach me anything. No dojo, no proper equipment. I only had the dream. I spent my days fighting off insects, trying to infest our crops, and slash fallen leaves. As my childhood passed, it all started to feel right. I was building combat instincts. At least I hoped I was. There was never a proper samurai around to grade the quality of my abilities, but I even practiced poetry and calligraphy. Everything I knew of Bushido, I strove to master, but life on a small rural farm could only take me so far down that road. Late in my teenage years, I came to this decision. My parents took it better than I expected them to. I would cross the river and travel to the nearest town to find someone or some place that could hone my skills further. To live and train the way a real samurai would. Using a small rice bowl as a substitute for a boat, I set off. Returning back to my parents, there was no sadness in our eyes. Somehow we all knew that this was how it was supposed to be. I wanted to think I'd come back to see them someday, but knew that their age made it unlikely. Still, our goodbye was somehow pleasant. The voyage across the river, well, not so much. It was only a river, to be sure, and a person of normal size would certainly not consider it much more than a boat ride of little significance. But for me, that river may as well have been a sea. Its rippling current may as well have been crashing waves. The mist sprayed upon me by the wind may as well have been a typhoon, but I pressed on to the opposing bank. Upon landfall, I found myself on the outskirts of the town of Hinoharu. Most wouldn't consider it all that big of a town, but it was big enough to house nobility, and through my eyes, an incredible giant world I'd never seen before. In this world of giants, no one knew of my existence, and no one kept their eyes to the ground. Only by the strength of my dream, and perhaps a little luck, did I muster the agility to avoid being crushed by the townspeople. In the mix of excitement and desperation, I called out to every person I encountered, asking if they needed a samurai. That would be a title I'd never earned, but my youthful exuberance was met with only rejection. Some who saw my size merely burst out laughing at me. Others thought I may have been some sort of yokai and hurriedly moved away from me. It wasn't until I entered the home of a local magistrate that I found acceptance. Well, in a way, when I asked him for work, he seemed to quite protrude that someone like me would have the gall to seek a samurai lifestyle, when my size clearly wouldn't allow me to do the duties it entails. I insisted. He rejected me. I insisted some more, and he rejected me some more, but I wouldn't take no for an answer. He was impressed by my resolve and took me in to serve Hinoharu, but did not make me a samurai. Rather, he assigned me to be the personal companion to a young noblewoman the same age as myself, and also the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. I caught a glimpse of her in a garden on my way to the magistrate. I came out to find out her name was Kyoko, and she was living in Hinoharu, while her father was leading a distant war against a rival clan. She had spoken to the magistrate of her loneliness, and her inability to make friends in town. Within my first days of being her companion, Kyoko and I developed a bond that few can know. Those days turned into weeks, then into months, then into 2 full years. Our fondness for each other blossomed beyond fondness. So yeah, like I said, this is basically the tale of the Inch-High Samurai put into a game version that had a lot of hours put to work into it. Because, like I said, my friend, he went by the name of Liquid Tension. That was his handle for the game. Well, for a lot of stuff he made. And if his health situation didn't get the best of him, he could have done so much more great work on not just this game, but the other games he wanted to do as well. Alright, so just one moment, folks. Gotta hydrate. Yeah, I know, when I talk a lot on normal streams, I'm usually ready for it. But this, oh yeah, this is a different kind of thing. So, let us continue. I was in love, but deep down, in spite of all the affection she gave me, I couldn't make myself believe that any girl could ever love someone as incredibly tiny as myself. A distinguished father would never approve of it. Nonetheless, I learned not to let myself chain down my heart. The townspeople began to talk, but Kyoko and I didn't care. Day by day, more and more, we became the most important things in each other's lives. It was about that time when, while out on our daily walk, we were ambushed by a creature to be conscious. I think I said that right. Conscious? Oh, an Oni. I'd always thought that these demons of the mountain were nothing more than legends to scare little children. But there it stood, and with no good intentions to bear. I knew from legend that these yokais were said to leave their mountain dwellings from time to time in search of young maidens to capture. I knew it was after Kyoko. The small contingents of samurai fought valiantly, but were but were ultimately beaten aside like ragdolls by the monstrosity. I leapt from Kyoko's shoulder to stand between her and the Oni, drawing my needle sword from childhood. Funny enough, the beast almost didn't see me, but when it did, I quickly found myself snatched up in its grasp. It was amused. The booming laughter of the Oni was like roaring thunder to my minuscule ears, and then, with a great deal of glee and satisfaction, the gigantic Oni swallowed me whole. It must have thought the situation was very humorous. Eating a human victim without having to so much as chew, but not chewing was its biggest error. Oh? I was not, under any circumstances, going to allow myself to be helpless while the Oni went after Kyoko. Trying to think of how I could buy her some time to escape, I plunged my needle sword into the side of the stomach. Yeah, that would do it. I heard a piercing scream that seemed to echo all around me. The stomach muscles tensed up in instinctive agony. Again, I thrust my weapon into another wall of the Oni's gut, and again, and again, and again. I didn't stop. Well, that's the power of love fight right there. In between blood-curdling cries of pain, I could hear the Oni screeching out for me to desist. But if I were to stop, not only would I find myself digested, but Kyoko would be the one becoming its next meal. I couldn't allow that. Suddenly, in the midst of my ferocious assault of the stomach ensnaring me, I was swept off my feet and found myself jolted upward. With a loud, agonizing hack, I was speedily ejected from the mouth of the Oni. After regaining my bearings, I looked up to see the huge yokai awkwardly sprinting into the distance, frequently stumbling in pain. But in its haste, it dropped something, a mallet whose handle bore the inscription, Uchide. The people of Hinoharu had heard of the ancient legends that spoke of the power of this relic held. Excuse me. Even Kyoko said she had stories about it when she was a child. I would have called it superstition had an Oni not just eaten me. Focusing her will, Kyoko lifted Uchide's mallet into the air, and in a sudden rush of magical energy, something took place that I'd never dared to dream could be possible. It changed my world. It changed everything. I was grown to the size of a normal human being. The magistrate who had taken me in years before sent out an official proclamation that I had been granted the title of samurai for my bravery and sense of duty. In this moment of bliss, accomplishing a dream, I had made a decision to take a swing at another one. I asked for Kyoko's hand in marriage. I couldn't tell you how amazing it felt to hear the word yes as a response. It took us the better part of a year to track her father down and gain his blessing, but once we finally had, we had rushed back to Hinoharu to start planning the wedding. It would take about 2 weeks to get everything set up. But that day never came. Oh no! It was only moments after our town scout reported that the farms across the river were burning that Hinoharu found itself burning as well. What brought the Oni to us was anyone's guess, but this time it didn't come alone. Whether driven by the need for revenge, or whether it had simply gone mad, I can't say. But there's something in the eyes of this yokai that wasn't there at our first encounter. Something far more sinister. Something evil. From the feet of the Oni poured forth an army of, well, I'm not sure what they were. For a moment I thought they were some sort of shikigami, type of tiny paper figures with dark spirits inside them. But the appearance was horrifying. But they and the Oni alike did not come to kidnap anyone. They were bent on destruction and murder. I could feel the air, the malice in my very bones. While the Oni wreaked havoc on the town defenses, I ran to assist. Though tiny in size, whatever these creatures were, they were tenacious. They swarmed the townspeople like mad piranhas, engulfing them and ripping at their flesh until death claimed them. It was sadistic beyond explanation. Yeah, the Onis kind of don't care. They just go for whatever and just have at it. Other samurai who yet lived and trying to form a bulwark that would prevent them from spreading further into town, but it was a futile effort. They swept through us like water through a net, claiming the lives of many of my comrades. In the midst of fire and carnage, I saw with the Oni. I was counting on the idea that it had come for me, and that if I faced it, it would seem no need to continue the maelstrom of destruction. I had little other hope left. I ran through the streets, jumping over the burning timber that blocked my path. Amidst the sea of destruction and brutalized bodies, there was no sign of the foul creature. Then I thought of Kyoko. Had the Oni come to claim her? Without a sliver of any other thought in my head, I made a sprint for our home. Sure enough, the door had been smashed inward. The small yokai didn't have the raw strength to do so. The Oni was in my home with Kyoko. When I entered, Kyoko and the Oni were just staring at one another. No expressions on their faces, nothing. I didn't understand. Nonetheless, I positioned myself in between them and commanded the Oni to stay away. Neither of them spoke, neither of them moved. It was only after a minute that the Oni slowly began to frown, as if disgusted by something. I was perplexed, but then I heard a voice behind me. It was Kyoko, but at the same time, it wasn't Kyoko at all. It was as though I recognized his voice, but not the person speaking it. I turned to look at her. Her eyes were aglow. A strange aura radiated around her, just like a yokai. Oh. You should have become like us by now. I guess you really are human after all. I'm disappointed, were her words. Her figure began to warp and change. Everything about her fit the description of an obake, a shapeshifter. Kyoko did what no human has the ability to do. With a mere squeeze of her hand and a visible surge of light from her arm, she shattered Uchai's mallet into nothing but dust. I felt myself changing. The room was getting bigger. With the destruction of the mallet came the destruction of its enchantment on me. Before I could get over the sheer shock of what was happening, both the Oni and the yokai I once called my fiancée Kyoko began approaching. Each of them tried to crush me beneath their feet. They were laughing. I do not remember how I managed to stay alive, how I was able to maneuver out of the shadow of their souls over and over, but I eventually escaped. I had no time for heartache, no time for self-pity. The destruction of my town and all those I ever cared about was only the beginning of something bigger. I had to warn whoever I could to be prepared. I made for the capital of our region, Hokuto. But back in my natural size, I knew it would be no short trip. But if I could reach it and alert them of the yokai threat, maybe no one else would have to go through what I did. But the yokai must have expected me to. I glanced back at Hinaharu. There was no more screaming. The few buildings still standing were close to collapse from the fire. Everything was obliterated. Everything and everyone. That's when I noticed a swarm of the tiny Shikigami-like creatures were pursuing me. I could no longer afford the luxury of looking back. I ran. I pointed myself in the direction of Hokuto and just ran. From time to time, some creatures would catch up. Sometimes few and sometimes not so few. I fought. Over and over. Day and night. I ran, I fought. That is what my life has been for more than 2 weeks now. I have not eaten in 4 days. I have not slept for longer than that. I've been too tired to keep track. I knew I was getting closer to the capital, and I I found a secluded little hole here at the edge of the forest leading to Hokuto, and stopped to rest and meditate. Stopping is something I wanted to do, but my energy was spent. I would not have survived the rest of the way. At least I've begun to catch my breath. A warm futon would have been nice, but when you're exhausted as I've been, a pile of soggy moss doesn't feel so bad either. Yeah, that's a flashback of his narration of his adventure. Okay, hold on. I got the voice clip for this. I just have to I just kind of have to find it. So bear with me for a moment, folks. Bear with me. Let's see now. Dip. I thought I had them all numbered. All right, so this just gonna be a this is gonna be a couple of quick moments, folks. I just gotta. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for stopping by, Drew. I'm looking for the files that you do the voices for this, but yeah, I still got them. Just gotta find them. Hope your plans for the evening go good as well. Let's see now. Yeah, I know I had them saved. I just don't know where they went. Oh wait, I know. Let's see now. Go to YouTube. Let's see now. I know I have it saved. Alright, here we go. Alright. So, I hope this picks up the sound, at least. Alright. So, I'm going to play some audio. Let me know if y'all can hear it. Here we go.
Must have been drawn to the fire.
Alright. Did it pick up that audio or no? Let's see now. I got that more stuff. Alright, so yep, okay. So everyone just a little nervous about it. So just give me one moment. So everyone just alright. So I'm gonna play it again and hopefully it'll pick up. Or if it did pick up, I'll just be playing it again. Alright, so. Alright, so.
Must have been drawn to the fire.
Alright, so.
Must have been drawn to the fire.
Alright, so.
Must have been drawn to the fire.
Alright, so.
Must have been drawn to the fire.
Alright, so.
Must have been drawn to the fire.
Alright, there we go. 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 I hope it doesn't loop again. 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 I hope it doesn I hope it doesn't loop again.